Welcome to Workshop Wednesdays. My name is Jason, and today we are over at Inspired Glass Creations in Longwood, Florida, and we're creating a Murrini vase. For this piece, we preheated some Murrini and cane together on a ceramic plate. What I'm doing here is I'm taking that preheated glass and putting it into the glory hole in order to heat it up to a temperature that allows us to fuse it together. Now that the glass is preheated to a temperature that allows us to fuse it together, I take it out of the glory hole and we're setting it down on the marver, and right now we're going through and squeezing together the Murrini in order to make sure that there's no gaps in between each piece of Murrini. Here we continue the process one last time just to ensure that there are no gaps and that it's ready for pickup. Next, we prepare a collar on a blowpipe for the Murrini piece to be picked up on. Next, with the Murrini heated up, we pick it up on the collar by twisting it back and forth to roll it up into a cylindrical shape. Here I'm stitching together the glass by taking some tweezers and sticking them together. Now that the pickup is in a cylindrical shape, we're going through with the jacks and closing up the bottom in order to give us a nice tight seal. Here we're cutting off the excess glass, and we're going to be putting this away to save it for a future piece. Now that the cylinder is sealed on the bottom, we're smoothing out the cylinder on the marver to make sure that it's completely smooth before we go and pick up more clear glass. Here we're using a wood block that's been soaking in water in order to help us shape the glass. The water creates a steam barrier in between the glass and the wood. We continue to shape the glass while blowing into it in order to make it slightly bigger and smooth. Now that the glass is smooth, we're letting it cool down to a temperature that allows us to go into the furnace to gather additional glass. Here we're going into the furnace and gathering additional clear glass to provide us more working material to make a vase. Again, we are using the wooden blocks to help us shape the glass and prepare it for the next gather. We're now gathering one last layer of glass from the furnace. This will now give us the amount of glass that we need in order to create the vase. Here we're shaping the glass with the pad in order to get it to the correct shape. Here we're shaping the glass using the pad and blowing into it in order to expand it. Here we're rolling the glass on a marver, which is a table that has a thick layer of metal on the top. This helps shape and cool the glass at the same time. When working on a large piece, the glass closest to the pipe stays the coolest. Here we're using a torch to help heat that specific area. Here we're using a tag to cool the bottom of the piece so it doesn't get too hot. Now we're ready to put in the jack line. This will be the break-off point for the vase. Here I'm heating the glass and allowing it to stretch while walking back to the bench. Now we're taking the jacks and running it right past the pipe in order to create a break-off point. Here we're continuing the process again. You can really see how hot the glass is by how much it's moving back and forth. Now we are attaching the hose back to the pipe and blowing into it while we're putting in the jack line. This allows the neck area to expand out while it's still hot. Now that the vase is to the desired shape, we're flattening the bottom of it using a wooden paddle. This will give us a nice flat surface on the bottom of the vase for the punty to attach to. Next I gathered a little bit of clear glass on a solid pipe and rolled it into a cylinder. We're now attaching it to the bottom of the vase. This is called the punny. We're currently putting a jack line in the punny to later on make a break-off point. We simultaneously cool the punny while torching the moil or the glass near the pipe in order to keep it hot. Now that the punny is cooled and manageable, we take some water and apply it to the original jackline. This weakens the break-off point and allows us to break off the piece, leaving an opening at the top of the vase. Now that the top of the vase is heated, we take a soufflette and puff out the shoulder of the vase. This at the same time also flattens the lip. With the heat still at the lip of the vase, we begin opening the vase to the desired size. We're now ready to break off the vase from the punny. I put on protective equipment and we shock the punny and slightly tap the pipe. This causes the piece to fall off the punny and into my gloves. I then put the vase inside the annealer where it'll slowly ramp down overnight in order to keep it from cracking. At that point, we polish the bottom and the vase is completed. Thank you everyone for tuning in to this episode of Workshop Wednesday. I hope you guys liked our first video from Inspired Glass Creations. We're looking to have a lot more in the future. If you like this video, please like and subscribe. And if you're interested in seeing any of the products that we make here at Inspired Glass Creations, you can visit their website at inspiredglasscreations.com. Thanks for tuning in, and we'll see you next week.